Blessings everyone, it's time for a video all about tarot, or all about manual divination, I should say. And I have been wanting to make this video for months. I have been getting prompts to do this since September. In this video, I'm going to be addressing all kinds of different topics relating to any kind of manual divination that you may be interested in, whether you are looking to study, you're a practitioner yourself, trying to get back to basics, and go through a big level up, or you are a consumer. When we're talking about, how to get clearer messages, how to handle what happens when you're stumped, are, certain practices of divination better or safer than others? We're going to be focusing mostly on tarot for this particular video, but this also will apply to oracle cards, angel cards, fairy cards, runes, ogham, as well as even a bit of astrology. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Nico, and I am a professional tarot reader, astrologer, and medium. I have been at my spiritual practice, my magical practice, since the late 90s. I have been in business here on YouTube since 2013. I have another channel, my business channel, I guess you could call it, SonofSelene, formerly known as Scarlet Moon, and I am also the one who created the Practical Tarot Tutor channel, which a lot of people got their starts on back in 2013. And I am also a teacher when it comes to astrology. I've got a crash course in astrology on my Patreon page, and I also have the Tarot Home Study course on my website, integrativemysticism.com. And I've written some prompts for myself so that I don't go all over the place when it comes to this particular topic, but I want to come back to this again. If you do have anything that you would like me to address maybe in a future video, leave a comment in the down bar below. I would love to come back and do something like this again soon. It does help me to know where everyone is and what people want to know. So where do I want to start? Yeah, okay. So I recently started making weekly tarot forecasts available for everyone for free for each sign on my SonofSelene channel page. And every once in a while I will get questions from people, is tarot better than astrology? Or, or which one is better? Which one is superior? Because you do both. And so what's your favorite? Do you like tarot better or do you like astrology better? Now, my answer to that is usually, what's my favorite? What do I like better, tarot or astrology? And then I say, I like magic better, actually. I like energy work. I like spells. I like trance work and all of that. But when it comes down to discussing whether or not tarot or astrology are better than each other, I have to cop out and say it depends. Because in my experience, there are tarot questions and then there are astrology questions. I do respect and honor people's preferences when I am doing readings for them. And I've heard everyone's reasons, and, again, I'm not here to convert people. I don't need you to do what I do to feel valid. I'm not that type of person. People gravitate towards what works for them where they are. And that is just what it is. To me, astrology is the weather, like the weather report, and tarot is the traffic report. Is one better than the other? I don't think so. And I have heard people, again, I've heard it all before. Some people think that tarot is scary or evil, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. And I've heard some people say that astrology is just too general, too vague, too hokey, too subjective. And that's all opinion. Right? And it's okay that people have those opinions. It's none of my business. I've heard it all before. I don't need to hear it again. But, it is what it is. But no, I love them both. And, do I have a favorite, tarot or astrology? I like magic, and it's all magic. When we're comparing tarot or astrology or oracle or runes or ogham or anything like that, it's important to also understand that you're needing to understand the nature of the reader as well and what kinds of readings they are doing. The last decade or so, certainly going back to about 2015, a lot of focus when it came to divination, tarot cards, oracle cards, astrology, things like that, moved away from doing predictive readings, even though predictive readings are valid, and those are the types of readings that I do, by the way, or, primarily, that's what I excel at, predictive readings, reading the future, fortune telling. But a lot of what was mainstream kind of focused more on intuitive, empathic, personal development, processing, reading into the present, walking through the present styles of readings. Look at how they actually interact with their own tool. Are they reading their cards fluently? Are they able to also work with their own spiritual faculties in a way that is in accordance with the psychic work that you want done, or the intuitive or empathic work that you want done? I myself put myself out there as a psychic because that is what I do. I am here to look into situations and get information that will help predict the future, get insights about the future as well, right? Fortune telling, as well as getting psychic insights into situations that need that information extrapolated. I am not here as a professional empath or an intuitive that is offering to maybe work with breaking down and processing emotions. That is not a surface that I offer, not on my other channel and not with my readings. And it's very clear in my work, but sometimes you have to see, how is this reader working with their cards? How is this reader working? Does it seem like they're doing that? Does it seem like they're working as a psychic? Does it seem like they're doing something else? And it does change the nature of whether or not a reading is going to be good or not good, or high quality or not high quality. It just, that makes all of the difference. So you are going to need to pay attention to, okay, well, what kind of readings are you looking to get, looking to do? And who are you getting them from? Or how are you doing them if you're doing it yourself? For that matter, it's important to also remember that being a psychic and being a fortune teller does not mean being a mind reader. So, and I've had to have this talk every once in a while with clients every now and again. I'm not going to read between the lines and try to figure out what you're trying to say. That's not really a good way to start off a reading. Just be clear and concise in what you want. And if you are a reader or you are reading for yourself, don't expect your cards or your astrology to read between the lines and figure out what you're trying to say. Figure out what you're trying to say first before you ask your question. Okay? Always very important to keep in mind. When it comes to the topic of safety, is something holier or maybe more clean or whatever, that is a weird one to have thrown at me every once in a while. If you are really doing a psychic reading, you are always assuming a little bit of spiritual risk. But most of the time, I'm going to say 95% of the time, it has nothing to do with negative spirits or entities or anything along those lines. It has everything to do with what was brought in to the session. It's not the cards. It's not the runes. It's not the ogham. It's what we're looking at and what is going on with the psychokinetic and emotional energy of those involved. Some people will say, oh, tarot is, dangerous and oracle is safe, which is very naive and very ignorant. What those people are talking about, in my opinion, is just how their emotional reaction to the imagery or the message is affecting them. And if they are a person who generates a lot of negative energy every time they feel a negative emotion or something uncomfortable, and they just can't help but get intense and conduct it, then for themselves they may be right. But it's still all about their emotional or mental reaction to the imagery or the message, and not necessarily the messenger. All readings, including astrology, involve a certain amount of exchange, energetically speaking, between the psychic, the reader, and the subject, as well as the client. There may be, a lot of clinging going on, a lot of maybe demand or pressure mentally or spiritually on the situation, whether, it's coming from the subject, somebody that's coming up in the reading, or maybe the client themselves, or it may be that a certain desire, intention, or script is getting projected in and is jamming the frequency of the reader. That is very different than having a negative spirit invited into the space. But for psychics, you are assuming a bit of risk in this. It's part of the game because you cannot do a good reading closed up behind 3 inches of bulletproof glass. Yes, we protect our space with, our own crystals, our own tools, burning candles, incense, energy wards, spells of all kinds. But when you are doing a reading for somebody, you are inviting that person and a portion of their experience into the protection or the field that you have set up for yourself. And so you are assuming a bit of risk with that, but it is okay. Most of the time, it's not a problem. And if a problem does arise, it can be quickly remediated and reversed. But I just wanted to get that out of the way. If you have any more questions about that, I'd love to come back and revisit that topic. Again, just write questions in the down bar below. But in short, are tarot cards dangerous or do they invite evil spirits? No. Divination itself, you assume a little bit of risk, but it doesn't invite negative spirits unless you are inviting negative spirits into your space, or you are a sloppy medium, or you are just inviting whatever, but you're still inviting in some way. And, doing a Celtic cross or reading the next 6 months for a person's job, that's not gonna do a thing. And for that matter, the same thing can happen with oracle cards, even if they're angel cards, even if they're fairy cards, right? Because you are the portal, you are the conduit. The tools are not doing the work. And good, dedicated, practiced, authentic readers are going to have some kind of routine, regimen, or toolkit under their belt for when it comes to cleansing, clearing, harmonizing, and resetting their space, themselves, and their tools. And I've got a video all about my weekly reset that I always do with my tarot cards, as well as what I do on a daily basis to keep my cards cleansed and clear. And you can check that out on my main channel page. However, and also a convenient little segue, there are ways to minimize problems in that kind of situation. How do you prevent that small 5% from being a big problem or showing up at all? Well, there's no way to stop it from showing up at all, but you can ease it and you can make it more manageable by making sure that the question or the subject matter that you are looking into is clear. And the reason for that is that a channel in use with dedicated intentional use is a safe channel, right? This is what helps keep a lot of outside interference from coming in. It's like when the line is busy, no one else can get on the call. And so I always say, give me specifics. I excel at specific readings, and so that's where I just go. I go where my strengths are. If you are curious about a good way to set yourself up to do well with specific readings, I always recommend that, you make sure that you yourself, if you're the one asking the question, or your friend, or your boyfriend, or your wife, or your family member, or your clients, or whoever, do not rest in extremes with the way that they are asking their questions, okay? So too vague, 5 words, that's not good. Okay, this is where we're going into energetic maelstrom territory, sitting in the void and just having anything fly around at you, trying to get information and grab it out. No good. But we also don't want to go in the other direction. We don't want to load the reading either. And for those of you who are tarot consumers out there, be very careful of this. There are a lot of predators who will take basically what you dump and reword it, and maybe throw in a couple of little inferences and pass it off as a psychic reading. So we don't want a reading that's just a vent, right? You don't want it to go into a big ream. And the reason for that is, one, you're going to get confused because all you're going to end up getting is just sort of random tidbits of little bit of information because the reading is trying to cover everything at once. And you want it to be something clear, coherent, and organized. So when I'm giving readings to people, say I'm doing a reading for Tyler, and Tyler is curious about his love life, and he wants to know, I don't know, what's the future for my love life? Let's say he just came to me with that. I would say, okay, Tyler, are you single and you want to know if a new person's coming in the next few months? Or are you maybe married or in a relationship and you want to know what's next for your marriage or your household? And, what made you ask the question and what do you want out of it? 4 sentences, less than 100 words, and you will be good to go. You don't need to know the person's past. You don't need to get all of that kind of stuff. You don't need to go through a recounting of everything that's ever happened in Tyler's love life until this point. You do not need to go into processing. 1, that is too much information getting fed to the reader and that person will be getting taken advantage of. 2, it brings up a lot of irrelevancies that have nothing to do with the situation. That's just going to confuse the energy of the reading. And 3, it's going to perhaps even create a situation where important information is displaced trying to accommodate and validate everything. You don't need to grill Tyler on his past. Do not, as a reader, if you have integrity as a reader, you will not let people feed the reading, or you'll at least dissuade people from, feeding the reading if you are taking questions, for your reports or through order forms and you're not actually interacting with them. At least that's my opinion. That being said, you should also be encouraging your clients to ask specific questions and just ask for what they want. Some clients don't know they're allowed to ask specific questions. So then sometimes what they do is they just ask for a general reading and hoping that what they want to talk about comes up in the reading. And this is where a good reader-client collaborative needs to happen. The reader needs to make sure that the client doesn't front-load everything, right? Just 3 or 4 sentences to get crystal clear, and the client inquiry needs to be crystal clear. Yeah, every once in a while you might get clients who, might just give veiled statements and, they may feel self-conscious about what they're asking, or they're kind of coming for weird personal reasons and they just don't want to share. It is what it is, but it's not going to hurt anyone to just give 3 or 4 clear questions to make for a good, clear reading. And if things need to be expanded upon, they will come up in the reading. So in summation, as far as this goes, what is it that a good psychic needs in order to proceed? What is the situation we are looking into? Okay, so in terms of what is the situation, just what is it? What are we looking into? Number 2, your status or position in the situation. Number 3, what made you come for the reading? And then number 4, what do you want? How do you want things to turn out? What are your goals or intentions here? And the same thing can apply to job readings. It can apply to anything. Just don't overload it and don't short it. Just some thoughts I wanted to share about all of that. Well, we're already pushing up on almost half an hour for this video, which I did not expect. It felt like only 10 minutes had gone by. So I think we are going to close it up for now. Thank you so much for dropping by, everybody. If you do have any questions you would like me to address in a future video, please leave them in the comments down below. I will see you all again very, very soon. Take care. Blessed be.